Welcome to Floracast, the podcast for greenhouse growers. Floracast is brought to you by Greenhouse Grower Magazine, in conjunction with the University of New Hampshire, North Carolina State University, Kansas State University, and Cornell University. Thanks to this podcast sponsor, Fine Americas. This week's podcast is from Brian Whipker of North Carolina State University.
Hello, welcome to this podcast discussing plant growth regulators. Today we will discuss how to do pre-plant bulb soaks. Growers have told me that PGRs are not needed on bulbs because the plants are naturally short when shipped. That is actually true. The real purpose of pre-plant bulb soaks is to maintain the plant quality by avoiding excessive stretch when the plants are placed in a retail or home setting. Soaking the bulbs is an easy procedure. For our experiments, we mix PGR solution and then soak the bulbs in plastic bags. For larger quantities of bulbs, 5-gallon buckets would work well. At NC State University, extensive trials were conducted on pre-plant bulb soaks. The thesis work of Brian Krug is available online, and we have continued to conduct trials over the past few years. There are a number of factors to consider to improve the effectiveness of pre-plant soaks. An outcome of the research was the development of a PGR pre-plant soak protocol. It has 5 steps. 1. Hydrate the bulbs by pre-soaking them in water for 1 hour. 2. Let the bulbs drain for 1 hour. 3. Then soak the bulbs in the PGR solution for 5 to 10 minutes. 4. Let them drain for 1 hour. And finally 5. Pot them up. Here are a few more details for each of these steps. Hydration. The bulbs you have purchased can vary in how much they have dried. We have found that drier bulbs take up more solution. This can lead to overregulation. Therefore, one method to improve the consistency of results is to pre-soak the bulbs for 1 hour. For lilies, this is a requirement, but for bulbs such as hyacinths with a protective tunic, it is less important. Pre-soaking the bulbs in water can make a difference. Bulbs were pre-soaked in water for 0 to 60 minutes and then given a top floor PGR application of 2 or 4 parts per million. Please note the 4 part per million rate was excessive. As seen here with Easter lilies, not pre-soaking the bulbs, the 0 treatment, resulted in a greater degree of control. Height control was more consistent if the bulbs were pre-soaked for 7.5 to up to 60 minutes. After pre-soaking, allow the bulbs to drain for 1 hour. This helps to avoid diluting the PGR solution with the excessive water. Soaking. Allow the bulbs to soak for 5 to 10 minutes. This allows for sufficient uptake of the PGR. Plants soaked for shorter times may not uptake enough solution, and extended soaking may result in a greater degree of control. With these Easter lilies, soak times of 4 to 32 minutes provided a similar degree of control with 2 parts per million of top floor. There was less control if the plants were soaked for under 2 minutes. Extended soaking for 64 minutes resulted in greater uptake. The bulbs should be drained for 1 hour to allow for uptake of the PGR. Immediately potting and watering the bulbs in will wash away some of the plant growth regulator. Other considerations. Flexibility. Bulbs can be treated up to 2 days in advance before potting. Labor utilization may be better. Treatment is done in the fall and avoids the need of doing it during the busy greenhouse forcing period. A slight delay in the number of days of flower does occur. Usually it is less than 2 days, and it was similar to what one would expect with drenches. Also, root growth is not inhibited. Here is a close-up of the roots. The pots at the left for both hyacinth and tulips were the untreated controls. A pre-plant bulb soak was done to the plants on the right. As you can see, root growth is similar. What concentration should be trialed? Getting the rate right will take some experimentation. Rates vary with plant species and cultivar. Pre-plant soaks have 10 to 20 part per million control growth of orange tiger lilies. In a follow-up trial, those same rates work well for both pink and yellow tiger lilies. White tiger lilies, on the other hand, were more responsive, and rates less than 5 part per million should be used. Pre-plant soaks of 25 part per million top floor control growth of stargazer lilies. We also found that around 5 part per million uniconazole had a similar degree of control. Easter lilies are very responsive to top floor pre-plant soaks. Rates around 2 part per million appeared to be optimal in our initial trials. In a follow-up study, rates of 0 to 2.5 part per million were trialed to try to refine the rate recommendations. For this trial, an incredibly low rate of 1 part per million worked well. While the average height was good, there was a large degree of plant-to-plant variation as seen by the gray points. Because of this variation, we cannot recommend growers use pre-plant soaks of top floor on Easter lilies. For hyacinths, 30 parts per million of Sioux Magic, 100 parts per million of Bonsai, or 25 parts per million of top floor worked well. For tulips, 50 parts per million of Bonsai, 10 parts per million of Sioux Magic, or 25 parts per million of top floor also worked well. For tete-a-tete, we found 30 parts per million of top floor to control the plant stretch in the post-harvest setting. Here are some suggestions for starting rates for top floor, paclobutrazole, and uniconazole. Try experimenting with these rates to determine what works best for your location, plant type, and cultivar grown. Keep good records and adjust the rates as needed. For improving the post-harvest quality of bulbs, pre-plant soaks work well for controlling excessive stretch. This is a cost-effective and labor-efficient option for treating a large number of bulbs at one time. Consider starting your own trial to determine whether or not this works well for you.
Thanks for downloading this episode of the FloraCast series, and thanks to our sponsor, Fine Americas. Help your plants shape up before they ship out with proven PGRs from Fine Americas. Manufactured under the strictest ISO 9001 standards, Fine PGRs offer uncompromising quality, superb growth control, and unbeatable value. Visit fine-americas.com or call 888-474-3463 for a distributor near you. Come back next week for the next edition of the Floriculture Podcast series.